Welcome to this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, the president of Dale Carnegie Training Japan, and my special guest today is an old friend of mine, Hideki Matsubara, who is the managing director of Miele, Japan. Matsubara-san, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be
it's a great pleasure.
in your program.
Tell us a little bit about your background and what you've been doing. You're a Japanese businessman running a German operation in Japan. What is the sort of course of your career and how did you get to this point with Miele?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes. So I started my career as a government banking officer, and then it was a governmental bank called JBIC, and it's International Bank for Japan. And yes, I studied as a kind of a general career course, and then I had encountered interesting job opportunity of going to France and starting a completely new career after working in a Japanese governmental bank for 2 years or something.
How did that happen?
Yes, so it's purely interesting encounter with the Belgian, my best Belgian friend's father, who kind of introduced me to the largest cosmetic company in the world, which is a French group, L'Oréal, and his friend was kind of promoted to the luxury division's president, and then they were looking for someone from Japan to take to France and train him or her for the future manager.
Were you single at that time? Did you have family?
Yes, I was single.
So you were fairly
it was
mobile.
Quite flexible.
It was a bit easier, right?
That's right. That's
so how
right.
long did you spend with L'Oréal in France?
Yes, in France it's about almost 3 years.
Oh.
Yes. So
and what sort of job were you doing with L'Oréal in France?
It's more like a management training.
Oh.
Yes. So I was in the financial institution, and so I did not know anything about cosmetics, anything about French culture, and so they put me into a intensive language course in the southern part of France, near Monaco and Nice, and that was fantastic experience. I wanted to extend another month or 2 months more, or something like this, but they said, okay, 1 month enough to do the daily conversation in French, and so I was sent to one of their biggest factories in northern part of France. And yeah. And
then what happened after L'Oréal? Did you come back to Japan with L'Oréal, or?
I came back to Japan with the logistic manager positions
with L'Oréal.
With L'Oréal,
okay.
Yes, in their Gotemba factory. Yes, with their French factory manager, and we worked together. Yes, and then my project was over, and then I did not know what to do. And at that time, my former boss in England, in L'Oréal, in Lancome, kind of picked me up as the Lancome product manager. First gentleman skincare manager in Lancome. So that was quite an interesting, challenging job for me.
So Lancome was a separate company to L'Oréal, or part of the L'Oréal group?
It's part of L'Oréal group.
Part of L'Oréal group.
Yes.
So that logistics job finishes in Gotemba in the factory, and then you get.
I moved to marketing division.
Moved to marketing for Lancome, right? Okay.
Yes, that's right. And then I moved to Biotherm and Agnès Bay marketing manager, and then almost 8.5 years passed. And then I got an offer from Unilever to do more mass marketing experience in the Asia Pacific regions. So I took it, and over 5 years, I did the product launch of Unilever skincare coordinations of brands like Pond's and Vaseline. And that was quite interesting. And then I thought I would like to do MBA with all the cosmetics and skincare business experiences. So I went to graduate school in University of Pennsylvania. It's an interesting 2-degree program called the LODA program, and which is the program to make the businessman, international American businessman, with some good knowledge of other languages. So I took the concentration of French language and Western Europe international studies together with the Wharton MBA. So that was quite an intensive 2-year program.
And this is all done in English except for the French language component.
Yes, that's right.
So that must have been unbelievably tough. These MBA programs for native speakers are tremendously demanding. So if you're a non-native speaker, you must have worked really, really hard on that program.
But I think it was a very good year when I studied the French program. It was the year of World Football Championship of France. So 6 months prior to the regular MBA Wharton courses, we spent almost 6 months beforehand in France with the Wharton professors, and to deepen the knowledge of Western Europe countries, and especially French-speaking countries like France and Belgium and Switzerland. And that gave us an interesting opportunity to do some consulting over interesting brands and companies.
So did the company sponsor you into the program, or this is off your own money?
At that point, I still registered in Unilever, but I went there alone because I wanted to do something what I want to do.
Right, okay.
Yes,
and so after the MBA, what happens then? Do you go back to Unilever? Or?
No, in fact, I got an interesting job offer of a high-end brand business of La Mer and other brands from Estée Lauder Group. So I left Unilever and took that interesting high-end cosmetic business opportunity as a marketing manager. Yes. And then I made a quite interesting success of La Mer business in Isetan, which is a flagship kind of a cosmetic flow of the whole Japan. And then after 1.5 years, I got an interesting job offer from the Swiss cosmetic high-end company called Prarie. And they were distributed. The products were distributed through Shu Uemura, which was sold to Groupe L'Oréal. And at that time, they tried to establish the Japanese subsidiary first time, Prarie. So I became a first Japanese managing director and president of Prarie Cosmetics. Yes. So at that time, they have been in Japan for quite a number of years, but their sales were stagnated. So my mission is to establish properly the Japanese 100% subsidiary of Swiss headquarters and make the business revive and relaunch it. Yes. So
how long did you do that for?
Almost 6 years.
6 years?
Yes.
And then what happens after?
And then I almost 2.5 times the business and made the business profitable. And I initiated at that point, like in early 2000, right? So the boom of high-end cosmetics and luxury cosmetic business. So that was quite an interesting experience for me. And I learned how we can do the branding from our, past British gentleman who established the wonderful business in Japan for Rolex. Yes, he was a kind of a mentor for me.
Yes, Chris McDonald.
Yes, that's right. And
he's a wonderful man.
Wonderful man, although he passed away already, but he introduced me also to the Swiss Chamber of Commerce, and he told me if you represent the top brand of the country, and you should really have a close contact with the embassy, and where embassy really gather the top talent of people from various field in Japan. So he even explained to me, like for some juries of his watch brand worldwide, he just met someone at the embassy receptions or something, Nobel laureate or something, and because the talents are gathered to the representative office of that country, which is in fact is embassy with the ambassador. So I just learned that.
So how did you get into the kitchen, dishwashers, ovens? After you've been in cosmetics for a very long time.
Yes, that's right.
So what happens after this current job? What comes after that?
Yes, because the thing is, I kind of did the cosmetic business over years, and did some presidents of two subsidiaries in Japan. And I thought I could do a little bit a different business, but with the same customers. Yes. So what I was targeting in the cosmetic high-end business was really top 1% or less than 1% of the populations who are wealthy people. So then there was an interesting job opportunity for the a German top brand, Miele, and they were seeking someone who can attack the Japanese market and revive their business with the top Japanese consumers. And so the consumers are the same. Why don't you try it? They said to me, and then I thought probably that's interesting.
If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. So when you first started leading, you were given training in France on how to be a leader in the French methodology, right?
Yes.
And then you go to MBA school and you've got the American thinking about how to be a leader. Then you wind up in a factory in Japan, which is a bit different from a normal type of office type of work, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually you get into a typical type of office company business as a leader. So what were some of the contrasts or differences that you noticed, from the French way of leading or the American way of leading or the Japanese way of leading? What were some things you found were different?
Yes, I think French way is a little bit more initiative oriented, and you really have to start something yourself and take initiative, even a small thing, and then nothing happens, right? And the Japanese style is a little bit more systematic, and it's more conservative, and so in a way we have to have a nice framework in a Japanese way. Yes, Americans and British, because I worked in Unilever, and yes, it's more systematic, I would say. Yes,
Japan is more systematic, you mean, than the other two? When you say
Japan,
you mean
yes.
the British style was also quite systematic?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Framework,
right?
yes, but probably creativities and all those innovative ideas. Maybe French way have more ideas. Yes, although it's a little bit sometimes. My bosses quite often said like it's chaos management. If you are in chaos, you have lots of ideas, and then you have a lot of innovations in the product side. I was in marketing, right? So they come up with interesting ideas while they were lying on the beach and then thinking about the products. Yes.
So what are some other differences you noticed as a leader, when you're leading Japanese people, as when you first started? What are some of the challenges of leading Japanese people?
Yes. So Japanese people, in a way, I'm Japanese, right? So I was educated in Japan, but also went abroad, right? And then it's important to have some framework so that people feel settled or something like this. I mean, Japanese people are a little more conservative in the way how they behave and how they act.
So when you say the word framework, do you mean rules in the business, or do you mean structure of the reporting lines? When you say framework, what do you mean by framework?
It's more of a structure of how to report and everything.
Oh, okay. Yes. So everyone knows their job, their position,
yes, right.
Quite clear,
yes.
Job description, job definition, quite
yes.
specified.
That's right.
And then you do this, and then you do that, and you do this, and you do that. So everyone's comfortable with their responsibility set.
That's right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that yes, I also noticed that, and in French kind of companies, and it's more of what you can do, and you can really expand your horizon of work. Yes, because you are like a small good Napoleon, right? You can really extend your power, yeah, and so it's quite flexible. Yes, whereas in a Japanese kind of environment, if your job description is such and such, of course you help out your colleagues, but it's more kind of they're more anshin or relieved, right?
Feels safe.
So it's a little bit different. Yes.
One of the things that people often say about Japan is that it takes forever to reach a decision in Japan.
Yes.
Except you've been working for foreign multinational companies, and I'm guessing that decision making in those companies is probably pretty quick. So did you ever find a tension between the sort of foreign bosses, the foreign companies expecting Japan to move quickly, but Japanese people are in their structure, in their framework, and they don't want to move quickly because they want to get everything perfect before they move. Did you ever find a tension between those two ideas?
No, I think all the time.
Oh, okay.
All the time, yes. In a way, even in a German company, my boss is half Latin, culture. Yeah, so I think he's quite, in a good way, aggressive, but at the same time, it's a good tension, right? So, but so the difficulty of the general manager or managing director positions as a foreign company, you were in between. Yes, for the Japanese employees, they consider me as the absolute president, right? But for the headquarters, I am one of the branch manager, right? So it's a little bit big gap, right? I cannot decide everything by myself. It's quite often the case. The subsidiary president is probably like that. Yes.
And so, in terms of when you come to deal with that expectation difference of foreign headquarters expecting fast action, fast movement, a Japanese team very cautious, very considered, want to move very carefully. Have you been able to slow down the headquarters, or have you been able to speed up Japan to sort of reduce that tension, or a bit of both? How does that work?
So it's always challenging and difficult, but I think if we choose the right strategy and right products and the right sales way, and we can convince with the results to the headquarters, that's really transparent. If the results is good, headquarters happy. If the profitability is okay, they're happy. So by assuring our good results and ensuring that with the headquarters, and then in the meantime, we take time to speed up in Japan.
So this is very interesting. I mean, there's probably a lot of people taking in this show thinking, great, how do you speed things up in Japan? Because it's always a difference of style and methodology compared to Western countries. So people are always interested to try and speed things up with their operations in Japan. How do you speed things up in Japan?
So that's tough. Yes, of course, because even if we do speed up ourselves, our business partners don't speed up. They have their own business, right? And
this is your distribution model. You mean when you say business partners,
that's right.
You're supplying your products and then they are on selling it on your behalf. So they've got their own systems, very careful, steady, slow Japanese decision making, right?
Yes. So in order to take our own speed, or even slowly, faster and faster, maybe we have to prove our brand and business to them, right? It takes a while, but once they trust us, once they really trust our brand, it makes easier. Yes.
So when we come to decision making in your company, for example, it's always a bit of a contradiction in Japan. People say it's very top down in Japan. You know, the president has got all the power and the president can direct things. But then people also talk about it's bottom up.
Yes,
you know, having a type of nemawashi, the sort of setting the scene for the decision beforehand informally, and then at the meeting you announce the decision sort of formalizes at that point. I always find that quite a contradiction in concepts. How do you explain that idea that Japan is top down, but it's also at the same time bottom up?
No, I think I would say in a foreign subsidiary, it's quite often we could do top down, yes? Because sometimes it might be order from the headquarters, and it's absolute order sometimes, right? And even if we resist twice and three times, it's not possible, right? But we kind of, if it's their fairly right decisions and right directions, we'll be okay, right? But if it's completely negative that decision might affect adversely to a business, we will at least request the revisions in a different way. Yes, what you said is right, but we did not give you enough information of the market. Please reconsider. If we take that direction, our sales will maybe such and such % down, yes, and then they have some years and to listen to, yes, because their decision might consequence the bad results.
So in your case, inside the company, I don't mean something from headquarters saying, you know, you must do this. I'm talking about decisions where you can decide in Japan.
Yes,
you know, you can make a decision in Japan amongst the team. How are those decisions reached? Are you telling people, okay, we should do this? Or are you letting them make that decision? How does that work for you?
No, I think it's quite often open discussions. And then if we pick up certain decision making, and first I ask them to study and also make presentations in front of the related managers or divisional head. And then we discuss, and then if it's difficult decisions, I will take, because I'm the final one to take the responsibility. Yes, but quite often the case, it's a good discussion and good study presentation, so it's not always the case. I have to take the final decision.
And you know, in typical Japanese decision making, as I said before, we have the nemawashi, right? So someone wants to have something happen, and before the meeting, they're talking here, talking there, getting agreement. So by the time you get to the actual meeting, everyone's already agreed to it, and then you just sort of formalize it. Is that what's happening also in Miele? Or because you're more of a foreign gaishike multinational company, you have rather a different style of decision making from, say, a typical domestic company?
Yes and no. I think like a sales and marketing quite often have prior discussions or something like this before their presentation recommendations. So it's quite somehow agreed. Yes, it's probably a little bit Japanese way.
So informal and then
Informal.
becomes formal
Yes.
at the meeting.
Yes.
So when someone's getting up to make the presentation, the people in the room are supporting it because they've already agreed to it beforehand.
Yes, somehow, yes. But if there is a vital kind of points which we find out, at the time of presentation, we might reverse the decision, right? So that's the final gate and where I'm involved.
You're involved, right?
Yes.
So big companies have global engagement surveys where
Yes.
they send out the survey, usually it's in English, and then the survey results come back,
Yes.
and as a leader, you're in some
Yes.
room somewhere
Yeah.
at a regional meeting,
Yes.
and they're showing, Europe, Americas, Latin America, APAC, and then you notice straight away, oh wow, APAC engagement scores are lower than these other regions on average.
Yes.
Then when you look inside the APAC scores, you see, Japan, right down
Wow,
the bottom,
yes,
right?
that's right, yes.
So then you get pushback from headquarters about, hey, you're doing a bad job in Japan because the people are not loyal, the people are not engaged, nobody's got any ideas. What are you doing over there? And you get pressure. Is this sort of experience you've had before?
Yes, we had it quite often. Yes, and then we kind of try to have more communication with the employees, and then for example, like I do a kind of it's not one-to-one, but face-to-face, like 2 to 3 people together to listen to what they say to improve our working environment, communication with the management, and all those things. We took those initiatives. And plus,
how often would you have those 2 or 3 people meetings? Is this a monthly
we did
thing
it
or a couple of times a year, or how often would
because with the whole employees, so it's once a year. or
once a
something.
year? So you get them together in small groups.
Yeah.
Once a year, you'd have those one, almost like a focus group, really, isn't it? It's like a focus group
Yes,
type of
that's
thing.
right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. But they could really speak directly to me.
And do they do that? Because, you're the president. Japan's a very hierarchical society.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
They think you're, up here. Are they actually feeling comfortable to speak up and maybe disagree with you or have a different idea to how things are done or a different preference? Do they actually talk about that, or are they holding themselves back and being very typical Japanese and not speaking up?
No, they speak up. Yes, because I'm in the position to listen to them, whatever they say. Yes, so with my assistant, we do that. And it's quite appreciated.
So why do you include your assistant?
No, because in fact, she also follows me the points which we have to do together. So that's quite easy.
Well, she's there to take notes of
that's right.
what's discussed.
Yes.
So that then you can...
Yes, I listen to them more.
You listen and she keeps track of it.
That's
what's
right.
happening. Right.
That's right. And also, we kind of try to have the internal communication materials, like internal news, like every quarter.
This is electronic? Is this hard paper?
Electric and paper.
Electronic and paper, both?
Yeah, that's right. It's electronic. It could be paper if you print out, right?
If you print it out, okay, I got you. So it's
That's
basically
right.
online.
Yes.
Right?
The new person's introduction and how's the history or some episodes of some employees, good stories about our technicians who repair, or headquarters information from me, or something like this. Yes.
And that comes out how often?
Every quarter.
Every quarter.
Yes,
okay.
Ideally. So
4
we
times a
have
year,
done it
that's
3 times, but I think ideally quarterly. Yes.
And have you found that, I don't know whether you've had enough time yet, but since you started having these small groups and trying to improve the communication, have you had a satisfaction survey or an engagement survey since then? Has there been an improvement in the results, or is it still too early?
I think we're on the way.
You're on the
because
way?
it's our engagement surveys every 2 to 3 years.
Oh,
right?
okay, it's 2 to 3.
Often.
It's not so often.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
right,
not
right,
so
right.
often, but we're
Right.
kind of on the way. And yes, one time we had a little bit difficulty moving into our new office last year in July, and then at the same time some people left because of their commuting difficulties from Yokohama to Meguro. And then we had a little bit difficult moment for contact center or call center, yeah. And then we have now new service director who improves the internal communications and everything, and it's very good fighting team and the service team, right? So the very difficult divisions, we focus on it and then try to improve as the whole company. Yeah. So.
Well, sounds good. And in terms of getting people to feel engaged in the company, what other things do you do besides the quarterly newsletter once a year with the one-on-ones? Are there any other things you do to get engagement?
We do the kickoff meeting, like New Year celebration, achievement celebration. At the end of last year, we kind of took all the employees to the place where they have rarely been. It's like Roppongi Hills clubs, and we had a nice music and the celebration.
Where did you go? Sorry.
Roppongi Hills Club.
Oh, Roppongi Hills Club. Okay, right.
Yeah. Because not every
can go in there because it's a club, right?
Yeah, it's a club. Yeah, something,
it's a private club.
Something like that. And then we did in January, we did the kickoff meeting in the top floor of the hotel, and we kind of explained our strategies and also the achievement celebrations of last year, and team building games, and almost like more than half a day. We do it up until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening, and it's a good kind of a team building and plus celebrations of the achievement. Over 8 consecutive year, we have double-digit growth every year. So we celebrate our achievement.
Well, double-digit growth every year over 8 years is a big achievement anywhere. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
In some cases, traditionally, when people look at leading in Japan, they talk about going out drinking with the staff or having lunches with the staff and all that type of thing. Although these days, company trips, that type of thing. But these days, people are also saying that with the younger people, they're not so interested in going on the company trip.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Don't want to do that. And not so interested in having, drinks after work with the boss and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you do that type of thing? Do you actually go out and have meals and drinks and have lunches with your staff? Do you do that?
No, we do. In fact, we are very fortunate because we are selling cooking appliances. So in fact, especially sales and marketing team, they have opportunity to do cooking together for our business partners. Yes, and then we do that. At the same time, we do have sessions even for other divisions to somehow enjoy the results of cooking together. And then we have brand partners as a champagne brands and some other food-related brands. So we have plenty of opportunities compared to the maybe other business companies.
How about you personally, though? Are you after work heading to the izakaya with some of the people having beers or something? Are you doing that type of thing or no?
From time to time, yes, because we have like a sales division organized sales meeting, and afterwards we go drinking. And service team also organize engineer meeting every 2 to 3 months. And and the marketing, they organize some events with their sometimes press and business partners. So we do systematically all those meetings. And if I go attend everything, I'd be almost every day eating and drinking, right? So yes, it's compared to other companies, we are lucky to use our own machines to cook, and even the cooking expert or chefs comes and try and do the trial, and then the results we shared with the people. Okay, please come to our showroom, and we have plenty of food, and And plus our results we share every month. And if the sales is good, every quarter we also have celebrations. Small celebrations in our cafeteria. People can come and go, and then sometimes it's a cherry blossom season. We have a beautiful cherry flowers.
Here in Meguro,
Meguro,
River, you've got the whole line, banks
right,
of beautiful cherry trees which form a pink canopy, which is lots of people just come to walk down those canal routes to see the trees. So the perfect location for that.
Yes, that's right. So from 5 o'clock or 5:30, and then people can come and go like until 8:30 or something like this. And the first one, I do the celebration speech of okay, we achieved the target of the month, or something like this, and okay, such and such digital and e-commerce is now phenomenal sales, and then we try to celebrate even a small success in the right timing. And by using a cookie machine, by using our small, nice cafeterias. And so those opportunities are, compared to my previous companies, much more because of the machines, because of the food-related, marketing activities. We can do and we have to do. Yeah. So.
Sounds fantastic. And so, in terms of creativity, if you've got an engaged team, then you have a potential to have innovation and creativity.
Yes.
I mean, if they're not engaged, they don't care if it makes it better or not, because they don't care. But if they care, I'm not talking about product R&D. I'm not talking about hard science, engineering type of R&D, which is a very specialized area.
Right, yes.
I'm just talking about, generally speaking, within the firm, in the marketing area, in the sales area, in the call center area, the customer service area, whatever it might be. In terms of getting people to think of new ideas or better ways of doing things, because you're in a very competitive field. There are lots and lots of Japanese makers who are trying to get their products, and there are other foreign makers trying to get their products in the market. What do you do here to try and get new ideas and innovation amongst your staff?
Yes, our kind of Cradle from the 121-year-old company. It's a family business company. It's Imabesa, which is always better. And then just a little bit ahead every day. So that's the Cradle of the company. So it also applies not only the product improvement, but also the day-to-day business. So we kind of have quite a very clear KPIs of each divisions by quantifiable. And then we use it and we measure it, but at the same time, we take certain initiative from the voice of the people. Yeah. So
how do you collect that voice?
I think sometimes the presentations by that committee to their divisional senior management meeting, which takes place every Monday, and then we invite them, and then just make a small presentation or something like this. As just a small example, we set up our office improvement, working environment improvement committee. Yeah, and then it's by voluntary basis. People gather, especially the before maybe a little bit staff level, not the managers, but they gather and they try to figure out how to improve our usage of cafeteria, how to make it more enjoyable by using the cafeteria, to have more communication in the cafeteria. And they came up with several ideas by using the televisions and by using the magazine rack, by using let's do clean up together each division. So those presented and suggested, and we all thought it's a great idea, so we move ahead. So little by little we can improve our office environment so that people can enjoy working and something like that.
So, very sort of bottom-up type of approach.
Yeah.
And what about trust? You've worked in a large number of different companies over the years in different locations, companies and countries.
Yeah, yeah.
What are your thoughts on building trust with your teams, particularly your Japanese teams? How do you build trust with a Japanese team?
Including the stakeholders, business partners, and it takes time. But I think what is important is our absolute company philosophy, which is worldwide, and also our way of thinking and way of behaving and the way to approach to their customers. It all comes from our brand.
So what's the global philosophy that you follow?
So as I told you, the most DNA important is imabesa. Forever better. Yes, we are providing the best quality material in the products from Germany. Yes, and that's the philosophy. And the service and work itself is we have to improve every day, right? Yes, and then we have kind of as a brand like Miele, we have like a strength, like a durability. Each product is made to resist like a 20-year, yes, at least, yes, and that's one, durability. And second is high performance, like a beginner to the professionals, like house kind of housewives and to the top chefs. They can use our machines quite comfortably.
Yeah, my wife loves our Miele
Oh,
dishwasher
thank you.
that we
very
brought
good.
thanks to you, and she loves it because it's a very light touch to open it and close it, and so, for a lot of, she's not so big lady, and so for her, sometimes these things are quite heavy.
Yes, right.
But she loved the Miele because the touch was so light, and as you say, it's very well engineered. So yes, she was really thinking about the consumer. So how else do you build trust?
To trust, I think to really to convey that high quality and also the service, we kind of have to establish. Yeah, but it takes time. But I think when I kind of took over the business, we also started our engineer service, our own engineers. So they're in a Miele car, and they go from one customer to the other for repair, for maintenance, and those kind of good service with our own engineers, especially in the metropolitan areas like Tokyo and Osaka and Kyushu. And other areas, our service partners, whom we train, are there available. We have almost like more than 300 point of sales throughout Japan, thanks to our primary dealers, sub-dealers, and at the same time, our retailers. Yes.
And how about you personally? How do you, as a leader, personally build trust with your staff?
I think I try to listen to what they need, and I try to have more casual communications with them, and I try to attend their experience events, which I kind of first initiated to express our brand. Yes, and my strength is experience marketing. Even when I was in cosmetics, I let people try quality products and product experience, make them aware that these high quality products exist to serve them, and that's also applicable to Miele products. Unless we use, oh wow, this is great, that wow experience I try to promote even personally together with their press, with their consumers, business partners.
Are you doing business with Japan? Do you really know how things work? Japan Business Mastery provides the answers. Do you have the right networks and know how to create them? Do you know how to get on the same wavelength with Japanese buyers? Do you know what being trustworthy looks like from the Japanese perspective? Japan Business Mastery is based on more than 30 years' experience in Japan and will become your go-to guide. Want to succeed in Japan? Buy Japan Business Mastery now. So what other things should I have asked you?
So the difference between foreign manager and my predecessor, or immediate predecessor, was the French guy, and before it was a half Austrian Japanese person, and before it was German. Yes, so I'm the first Japanese, 100% Japanese MD, right? Yes, so I think if yes.
What does that mean, though?
Yes.
You're the first Japanese MD, so what's the difference then from a leadership point of view? What would you be doing that was different to what those guys would have been doing?
Yes. First of all, if I'm Japanese, I know quite well I can communicate perfectly in Japanese easily, right? And which is quite often the case, not the case for European American MDs, right? And so for me, it's more for how we can convince our headquarters, right? Because business partners, of course, it's tough business sometimes, but I think they can really understand what I say, and it's easier to convince them, right? But it's more to the headquarters, how we can, with a little bit Japanese logic, how we can convince them, right? And
what's your success rate like convincing
at
headquarters?
the moment, it's fine. Yes,
Doing well.
Yes,
That's good.
yes. Yeah, that's right. But for the foreign person who runs the foreign subsidiary in Japan, it's very, I think, be important to at least understand our culture and our language, and at least the respect to our what we do. Yeah, I think one time I had a little bit experience of Japan is the same as all the rest of Asia. It's no difference. Yeah, why don't you want to be different? Something like that from my boss, right? And to a certain extent, of course, the way to do business might be very similar to wherever you go. But I think even if it's very, Japan is an ecosystem and distribution is a lot of intermediaries, and at least we have to respect to a certain extent and do little by little different policy. Instead of doing drastically, this is wrong, and then you change the whole thing immediately overnight, you lose trust immediately, right? So a little bit prudent, but if the direction is correct, we have to take a little bit time to do it, but in a right way. And but sometimes yes, some definite big change should do with a good convincing speech or conversations with the business customers.
Actually, you've picked up 2 points there about advice for foreign managers in Japan. One is the language culture, understanding. The other is don't try and bring drastic change. What would be some other pieces of advice if someone was going to be posted to Japan? Usually a 3 to 5 year posting for expats is common. Yeah. If you're going to give them some other pieces of advice beyond those two, what would be some other advice you'd give a new person coming to Japan to lead for the first time?
Yes, that's right. If it were kind of headquarter person, or if it were kind of like we are a German company, so if it's someone from Europe or Germany, and then he or she should take advantage of those experiences in headquarters, and which is convincing, and then but at the same time leverage the headquarter experience or headquarter view easy to understandable way to the Japanese employees. Yes, okay. Because that's quite a merit. Yes. Every time when my boss comes, I ask him to update the worldwide situations and how Japan is positioned. Yes, and we are growing, so we are in a good kind of well considered, right? Yes. But I think people have to know what are our position and how our efforts are appreciated or not, right? So
Yeah. What other advice, if any, would you give to a new person coming to a new posting in Japan as a leader?
I think it's good to, before taking lots of actions, listen to the people first, and try to build up a teamwork. Yes, I think I attended interest in publishing companies, high-end luxury media charity event last night, and then the top person is a French person, gentleman who speaks Japanese very well and understand, and the rest of their divisional directors are all ladies, Japanese ladies. Yes, they are leading the high-end cultural brands magazine business. Yes, and then I was quite impressed, like that. But he is quite the president is there, very listen to the clients' needs, and he appears in a lot of clients related meetings, and I encounter him from time to time, and so that's quite interesting.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's been a great talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us for this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. Please join us for our next episode.